Hi everybody, my name is R.A. Solomon and I'm here to give you a tour of my exhibition 6 Feet Apart. And it's at the Birdhouse Gallery in the Outer Sunset on Judah near 31st here in San Francisco. The show was all about the pandemic, how our lives changed because of it. And I take the symbol of these symbols that we used to indicate people need to stand 6 feet apart. And ironically, there's actually one right here. And its companion is here under this planter. So 5 years ago, the lockdown started. And these symbols started appearing everywhere. And I was documenting them. So this is a photograph, like a big sticker stuck to the pavement. These are the X-shaped markers. You can see this one is a photograph of an orange marker that has faded, and mostly you just see the white of the tape. There's another one over here, and on the colorful tiles here is another one that is like a pink, maybe started as a red tape on a red bricks. And here in the exhibition, I have many, many more of these photos organized in a bunch of different ways. I'm gonna start by talking about this piece that I call artifacts, because these are similar to the pieces out on the sidewalk we just looked at. So at my previous show that was at Transmission Gallery in San Francisco, I had the same thing. I had these photographs sitting outside on the sidewalk, and they were there for 2 or 3 months, and then they got faded and scratched and torn up, and then I took them off the sidewalk and framed them nicely. And for me, it's like a metaphor for the people who were sick in the pandemic, the stress and anxiety that it caused, and how we can heal from it by taking care of one another. So there's 16 pieces in this series that I call artifacts, and I'm presenting them in this organic kind of grid. This other piece here is called Collection of Evidence. So in this particular show, one thing I'm focusing on is contrasting 2 of the different types of shapes that were used. So the X we've looked at, and another common shape was a circle. So the circles often had 2 feet on them. Sometimes they had text on them. You can see text on that one. And I see this one fell. So it's supposed to be like that. And some of them don't have any text on them, and they're just faded, and you wouldn't, this is a sticker, and you can see the faded edge, and there's some kind of flooring underneath it. So I've made these out of concrete and plaster, and they're all a little bit different. Some of them, like this one, has 2 tones on it, and some are darker, some are lighter. And I want to invoke the idea of somebody, like an alien anthropologist, coming to Earth and going, what are all these marks? I'm going to cut them out of the sidewalk and put them in my collection about humans. And in this installation, it's as if it's the discarded corner of the Alien Anthropology Museum, where they threw all these symbols not knowing what they meant or if they still have meaning. Also, perhaps it's like grave markers, but there's no graves, and they've been removed and piled up somewhere. So I also like contrasting the X and the circle mark. I have them here above the doorway, and also outside. I call that piece XOXO Hugs and Kisses, and I have a similar idea with this large mural. And the mural I call Sending Out an XOX, referencing that song, Sending Out an SOS, because it is kind of a call for help. And it's a little bit more of the lighthearted, funny part of this very broad experience that we all had. So I like the X and the O's. They so Hugs and Kisses, that's again a ironic reference in the context of staying 6 feet apart. It's also, of course, like a game, tic-tac-toe or some kind of game, and of course staying far apart or trying to figure out what the safe thing to do was a kind of game. So again, this one is yellow tape that was on the sidewalk, and kind of an unusual shaped X with 5 pieces of tape. And this is, and there's also kind of a X and a circle up there. And this is printed on a clear plastic and adhered to the window. So you're seeing the buildings in the background there. And then its friend here is a large round sticker that has some text that you can still read on it, and the 2 feet marks. And also most of the sticker has worn off the sidewalk, and you can see a yellow sign that was underneath it that you can't tell if that was also 6 feet apart marker or something else. And these are both from San Francisco. This one's from the Castro, and it's still there. That one I took that photo just very recently, which is another funny aspect of this work, is that some people look at the work and they think it's, oh yeah, that thing from 5 years ago, but so many of these symbols are still here. So then I have these grids, and each grid is a sampler of based on shape. So this is the eye shape, just one piece of tape. And these 25 are each from a different location. And this one is the circle grid, kind of like the circles that we saw over there. And then this grid is the grid that has 2 feet and text, but basically the theme of this one is that they all have text on them. And like these Muni ones are still there all over Muni. I have a bunch from Japan, where I go every summer, and I have some from Sydney, Australia, where I showed a version of this show a year and a half ago. So you'll see some that say 1.5 meters and some that say 2 meters. And then this grid has symbolically fallen apart and fallen onto the floor, where visitors can step on it like they do the real marks. And to me, the grid is a typology. It's a scientific study used scientifically to study a phenomenon, where scientists will take a picture and organize things and reduce the number of variables, and often present things in a grid to try to understand a phenomenon. And in this case, I like the idea of showing the grid, but also breaking the grid apart to evoke both all the scientific study that we thought about in the pandemic, as well as the more chaotic emotional experience of it. So this set of marks are arrows, again from all different locations. This one started out square. These are all over San Francisco, and turned into an X, and it's got arrows in it, so it's a little bit of all of them. And then this one are the X shapes, and this is from the same set that was on bricks that we saw in the front door. So a number of the images, many locations have one. Some locations only have one, but many have 2 or 3 or 4 or dozens of the same marks wrapping around the block or whatever, depending on the location. So this piece I call bar graph, and each row here is a different location. So here there was green tape used, and I've documented each of the pieces of green tape. Here there was a yellow spray paint, and I've documented, this one, there was actually way more than these. It was wrapping around a block, the city block. Again, this is like a spray paint. Here's a yellow tape, and you can see the different shadows on the sidewalk. So in this piece, I have a few pieces here that the idea is to evoke another visual image of the pandemic, which were data visualization. So there's no real data represented here, but the idea is that we were all looking at graphs of infection rates and, graphs around people's ages and people's location and all the different kind of data we were looking at. So this one is also a kind of bar graph, double bar graph. And again, I'm contrasting the X's and the circles. And again, there's no real data behind it, but it's just evoking that feeling. And this one, I'm using the circle shapes to build a kind of pie chart. And finally, this piece, which is in some ways even more abstract, evokes the idea of DNA sequencing. So the DNA sequence, there's many ways to visualize DNA sequence. And again, there aren't even just 4 colors here, like the 4 colors that would be used in a DNA sequence. But the idea is just to evoke that concept that we were all thinking about, following in the news. When will the virus sequence be fully completed, and all the subsequent variations of the virus and the vaccine, and et cetera, et cetera. And again, these are similar, but this was a location where there was many of these. In fact, I think this is the same location, and they had blue and black, maybe other colors. This one I kind of threw in for fun, like this one as if it's maybe an X, like it was the wrong nucleotide. It's not the right one. Okay, that's the show. The show was going from February 1st to March 16th. And I have a few things here. I've got a set of 10 stickers. It's a limited edition. I've got these tiles available. I've got some extra of these sculptural pieces, some of the ones that I thought make nice tabletop pieces. And I've got more of these stickers that are the same kind that are out there. And finally, I have my zine that I made for the first show. So August 2022, I actually did this interview with my friend, the artist and curator, Matt Offenbacher, and I had COVID at that time. And so we have in this interview, we talk about a bunch of the different metaphors that this series brings up about the pandemic. And we're having a closing reception March 16th, where I will preview my next book, which will be focused on this 5th year anniversary, because March 16th is the actual 5th year anniversary of lockdown here in San Francisco, and there'll be some special events at the closing reception March 16th. All right, thanks.